What's shaking, everybody? My name is Thomas, and welcome back to another awesome, excellent episode of Evisceradio. For those of you who listen to my 2-hour radio spot, you know that I have a penchant for high-quality Blackened Death. And I'm not just talking about any Blackened Death. I'm talking about the best that this planet has to offer. There's great examples from every continent on this planet, and the search for the best of the best of the best never ends, and I hope it never does. The bar is set extremely high because of people like Jared Bridgeman from Australia's Earth Rot. Now this is what Blackened Death Metal, for me, is all about. Their latest album, Tides Of Obscurity, is everything I look for in Blackened Death Metal. It's brutal, it's violent, it's fast, it's got the atmosphere, and most importantly, it is fun as fuck to listen to. Do yourself a favor and check these guys out. And so, on this episode, I get to talk to the man himself, and we get into what's going on at Earth Rot today, future projections for the band, and what kind of music we listen to based on the season. It was a very light, fun, awesome conversation. I was looking forward to talking to Jared for like over a year now. We finally made it happen. Be sure to do yourself a favor, check out the band, and stick around here and watch what is another awesome interview. Yeah. I'm so glad that I checked in. I had no idea Daylight Savings was coming your way that soon.
Honestly, me either. Just kind of happened in the middle of the night, and I woke up and I was like, I think we might be doing this at 11.
No, I typically set up earlier, and I just happened to like get my dinner prep and all that stuff going on my gear up early, and I was like, you know what? He's probably getting up early enough, get free up a Sunday, and you're like, I'm kind of ready to go, so glad it fucking worked out. You got your cup of tea going?
That's it. Yeah, always good to go.
Yeah. So you have leisurely Sundays lined up usually? Is this a down day for you?
Yeah, this is kind of prep for the week of work and, get some house stuff done,
Yeah. What do you do?
Nothing too exciting.
What do you do?
I'm a locksmith, so fortunately not much like on late nights lately, but still, plenty of hours during the week.
That's good. Yeah. I hear you on the plenty of hours, man. My work schedule is insane.
Yeah?
Yeah, I work in the film industry up here.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, so it's like weeks on end, no days off. This is the first weekend off since the beginning of September, actually.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Yeah. And then I got another 3 coming up, and then the cycle continues, I guess.
Yeah, I guess whenever the next big project that eats up your weekends happens.
Well, man, the particular project goes until March.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then it'll turn over into something else.
Yeah, cool. A bit of job security then, at least. It's nice to have ongoing work.
Yeah, it can be. I mean, the film industry is pretty fickle. You know what I'm saying? We did go through the writers' Hollywood strike and all that stuff, and that meant no one worked for a good half a year. And then when it rains, it pours, right? So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I've got friends over here in Melbourne that work in special effects makeup and stuff, and they were all hit with the same thing, just completely out of work for months and months as a result.
Yeah. It's that industry is a fickle mistress, man.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah. I'm fucking super happy that I got you finally pegged down, man. I've been looking forward to talking to you for a long time.
Yeah, sorry about that, man. It was really hard to get some time organized and stuff. So it's good to be able to find a weekend where we can line it all up. And
yeah, buddy. Yeah. Good things come to those who wait.
That's it.
Yeah. You got nothing to apologize for, man. Like, life is life. You got to do what you got to do. That's
it. Yeah. I got this bad boy on now. So
is that from the fucking accident?
That's it. Yeah.
God damn.
It's after 6 weeks I was still working, it wasn't stopping me from working, but after 6 weeks I was like, this is actually really sore and not getting any better. So I went and, saw the doctor and we got some scans and stuff, and they're like, yeah, you're I think the force pressure on my thumb that I could do on my left hand was 7 kilograms, and on my right hand was 700 grams. So it was, I 10% strength in my right hand, and I was still working through it. I'm like, all right, so we might need to make some adjustments here and try and get the strength back, because that's my picking hand, so it's got to be good.
Yeah. I mean the physical therapy on that's going to be, or must be, awful, man.
Yeah. Well, I think for the most part, it's just kind of adjusting to not having much movement in it, and it makes a few daily tasks a bit awkward. If I pick up my phone, I can't swipe to unlock it because I can't reach it. Little things like that, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'll use the index finger like a boomer.
Yeah, I fucking can't. Yeah,
that's it. Yeah, single finger typing and stuff.
Yeah, totally.
it's only for a little while. So
yeah, no, man, you'll heal up and you'll be back to fucking picking away in no time, man.
that's it. That's the plan. If not, I'll just have to relearn how to play like finger style, like Derek Boyer, and we'll be good.
Yeah, cool. Did you have both your hands on like the wheel? Is that what jammed into?
Yeah, it was like two hands on the wheel, and I saw this guy about to cross in front of me, so I turned and I kind of pulled left hand down, and the cross brace went up to like right underneath that joint, and then the impact happened, and all the force just kind of transfers straight through. That's why everyone's like, oh, if you're four-wheel drive, you got to have your thumbs up and stuff like that. But you know, in the moment when you don't have any time to react, you just try and not hit the guy. But
yeah, he was drunk. You said,
to avoid being hit. Yeah, he was wasted. Yeah, 5 o'clock. You know, obviously he'd been drinking all day, and it was right in front of a childcare center and stuff like that. So, yeah,
he's gonna get nailed to the cross for that, man.
I hope so, but it's probably not likely.
No.
Nah, because no one was like injured at the scene, so no police were able to attend because of that. And then he drove off, and they're like, "Well, he's given you his name and driver's license.
Holy
that's all he needs
shit.
to do." I'm like, cool.
God damn, man. Well, at least you came out of it okay, and like fucking no kids got nailed, man. If that happened over here, that would be it for that person, man. That would be it.
Yeah, you'd think so, but I don't know. The system is what it is, so
yeah. Count your blessings, dude. I'm glad you got all your limbs and shit intact.
Yeah.
But well, yeah. Thank you so much for fucking sitting down with me, man. I'm again looking forward to talking to you. I'm looking forward to talking to you for a while. I'd like to talk about you and that awesome shit you do. Earth Rot is the fucking jam, man. Thank you for the amazing music.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, fucking I'm looking forward to Black Tides has like been in my regular rotation for like since it came out. It is the best gem album I can possibly work out to, and I work out to it all the time.
Nice.
Yeah, man. yeah. Like, I don't know where you come up with that shit, but that's definitely something I would like to ask. Like, you guys dig into some crazy places for that, and I know a lot of stuff has been talked about in terms of that album, so I'm not really going to go too much into it.
Sure.
But like, you guys go somewhere for that fucking type of sound, man. Like, how the fuck do you come up with shit like that? It's unique to everything else, man. It's its own type of brutality, and like I stack it up against everything, and it's its own beast. Like, it's just dope.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, it's I guess like as the band kind of progressed, the first two albums were, I guess when we write songs, everyone kind of writes their own stuff and contributes to it, but there's usually one person kind of steering the ship a bit more, so to speak, to help pull it all together to make a full album.
Right.
And Black Tides was the first album that we really had the time to do with our full current lineup. So I guess the spread of all of our influences was like much more locked down, whereas our first two albums was a bit more just me and Tom punching out riffs because we wanted to play them.
Yeah.
And then now we've got a solid core group. There's the four of us that we can all write together, and it's extra people, extra ideas. No one's really like judgmental on the strange things that we want to put in. Like that we had a riff off Black Tides that I wrote on a banjo and decided I was going to play on a banjo, and then I recorded it on a banjo and it didn't work, and I was like, oh, okay, well, we'll just play it on guitar anyway.
Sure.
And it's one of those things where it didn't necessarily play out as it did in my head, but once we started putting it down, it just kind of became its own thing a little bit.
Sure. It's funny how ideas like that work out, you know?
Yeah,
you got that seed in your head, you lay it out a little bit, and maybe it doesn't go the way it typically goes. That's like my shit with my writing too. Like, yeah. That's how you work the kinks out, man.
That's it. Yeah. You just kind of let it take it where it feels like it wants to go, instead of, I don't know, like making hard decisions and directing it. We just kind of let all the little pieces fall in line, I guess.
Yeah, okay.
Is maybe more how we approached it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
It's interesting you say that too, because like there are certain, like across all your albums, like there's little periods, segments, like the horn section and one of them, and then you have like a little EDM drum bit and another one, I can't remember the names off the top of my head, and then Cape of Storms has like this funky ass jam breakdown sort of thing. Like,
that's the banjo lick.
That was the banjo lick?
Yeah, that was the banjo lick.
Oh, I can hear that.
Yeah,
little knee slapper. That's funny.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like, I'm kind of answering the question I'm going to ask, but like that stuff wasn't really, that wasn't really planned going into it. It just sort of, you let it happen and you're like, oh, this will go there.
Yeah, it was definitely, I've got this lick, I was playing around with it, and I'm like, I'm going to put this in here. And however it ends up is how it ends up. I think at the time when I wrote that, this is going back 6 years now when we wrote it. So how it all came together is not super fresh in my mind at the minute.
No, that's
But I think I was teaching guitar at the time.
Okay.
And I had one student who was like, I want to learn how to play banjo. And banjo's not really big here in Australia. It's not a thing you see or hear a lot of. So I bought one, just a cheap one from the shop that I was working at, played around a bit, came up with this lick, and I'm like, this is actually pretty sick. We should this would totally work if you put some distortion on it and put it all in. And I went, fuck it, we'll just chuck it in there.
Fuck yeah, man. Throw it all in there. It gives it personality, right?
We always have these thoughts because obviously Black Tides of Obscurity was our first album on a label of any kind out on Season of Mist.
Yeah, man.
And I remember when we sent them the full kind of track listing that we've gone, this is the album that we've got. There are a few bits on it, and we're like, are they just going to listen to this and go, what the fuck are you guys doing? This is stupid. Like, this is not, you know, the quality of stuff that they have on that label. And we sent them that, and Out in the Cold as well, the kind of closing track off that.
Right.
And their response was, yeah, this is sick. Good.
Good, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. I guess we'll finish it then and make that the album. So
cool.
It's cool to have the label be really supportive of you kind of branching outside of, I don't know, what you feel like you're supposed to do as a heavy metal band sometimes.
Sure. Yeah, I bet, right? Especially you would definitely be thinking that on like an album with like your first album on a label too. Like you're going to have to you know, make compromises or like, or more or less like the worry that like, are they going to take it? You know what I mean? Like that must have had some effect.
That was it. I think it was mostly like they've said they want to take it, but based on the couple of like maybe more single tracks that we sent them, and then we've thrown in this weird stuff and there's, I don't know, bluesy nonsense at the end of it. Does that feel like the same kind of package that we sold them on when we were shopping the album around?
Right.
But I guess being a label like that, you know, they're pretty, I don't know, they've got a pretty good track record of embracing bands doing their weird and wonderful stuff outside while still keeping true to what the band's about as a heavy act. So
hell yeah, man.
That was something new to us. And yeah, as like a young band, you know, in your 20s, and you send this stuff out to an international label and you're like, I don't know if we're just being dickheads because that's what we like doing here. We're just having a bit of fun with it. And should we take this more seriously, throw that track out and write another, you know, big behemoth ripoff kind of song or something to, you know, something that we know works on a heavy metal album on a big label.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of glad that we didn't, because it's nice to keep true to who you are and what you feel like writing as people.
Yeah.
And I guess it reflects how the guys in Earthrot kind of interact as people as well. Like it's very indicative of the type of friendship we have between the guys in the band.
Very, very cool. Yeah, right on. That leads to me into another question, man. Sure. You guys are in your 20s, you said, yeah?
We were.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I was once too.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
we're all early mid-30s now.
Early mid-30s?
Yeah.
Still young, man. Still young. Did you guys grow up together?
So Tom and myself actually met at high school. So we were playing, we were introduced by someone else. I was playing with another drummer and guitarist at the time, and someone said, hey, there's this guy. We're in kind of year 8, which is when you start high school in Australia. And I think it was a teacher that introduced us. They're like, this is Tom. He's not from like your classes or anything, but he plays guitar. And so do you. And we were like, cool, good enough. And then, yeah, you know, we started talking about what kind of stuff we were listening to. He was listening to some heavy stuff. I was listening to some heavy stuff. And then I think we started going to like all ages, like local gigs and stuff like that, you know, playing some riffs and whatnot. We played in a band in high school, just stopped, lost contact for a couple of years, met up again and went, we should start doing some more riffs again. And then, yeah, just kind of kept going. This is maybe our 3rd or 4th band that we've been in together.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so we kind of just kept coming back because we know how to work together. We've got a lot of overlapping, not necessarily the same, but overlapping taste in heavy music.
Right.
Colin, we met just through Perth local heavy bands. He was playing in a band called Befallen when we first met him, and he's just like has a really great and unique idea of how riffs go together compared to us. And we were like, that's cool. Like, that's very different to how we write. And he stepped in on our first European tour, I believe, as a fill-in.
Okay.
Because one of our guys couldn't make it. It was really short, like two weeks notice to get from Australia to Europe and take a month off work. One of the guys just couldn't make it work with his day job, and Colin was able to just drop everything and come join us.
Right.
And then, yeah, just like once he was in, he was a part of it. Yeah.
The magic fit.
Daniel is a little bit different because Daniel's from Melbourne. The rest of us were all from Perth, and we met Daniel in Japan. He was drumming for a black metal band from Melbourne. And when we had kind of moved on from the drummer we had at the time, we were like, I wonder if that guy is free. Do you reckon he'd consider flying across the country to jam and stuff like that?
Yeah.
And we hit him up and we're like, are you playing in many bands? What are you doing? He's like, playing in, usual drummer amount, like 2 or 3 bands or something like that. But like none of them were really eating up too much of his time. And we're like, well, we got some tours and stuff. We got some albums. Do you want to come over, see if it works? And we jammed a little and then kind of fell into place. We got along on that tour, so we knew as people we'd probably get along, and that's maybe more important to us, is that you like the people you're playing in the band with.
Oh yeah.
And then you can change subgenres and styles and the way you go about things. Like if Daniel's an absolute weapon with the blast beats, he was playing in a black metal band, and we knew that, and we're like, this is something we want. This guy can absolutely like carve a roast.
I've never heard that one before.
Yeah, I don't know who it was. We were watching one band playing, and the drummer had like a push-pull action with his hands going.
Yeah.
I was like, this guy looks like he's carving a roast real hard. And so that became one of our terminology for blasting real hard.
Fuck yeah.
And so we met up. Daniel was great. We got on like a house on fire, and then that kind of just all fell into place, solidified, and we're like, all right, we're all friends. When we go on tour, it's just like a big catch up, and then we're like, oh shit, we gotta go play a show, and then kind of duck in and play, get in and play the show.
Totally.
So it's really nice to have that kind of relationship with the guys, and it makes it, I don't know, there's always the bonus aspect of when it comes to, do we meet up and play shows, do rehearsals, do we go record? It's like 70% hanging out with the boys and 30% playing shows and putting riffs down.
Yeah, man, you guys are buds, man.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Which is, I don't know, that's new. Like, we've all played in bands where you've had members where, you get along with them, but you're not best mates. That's fine. You don't have to be best mates with everyone in the world. Sometimes it's about having a good band that works cohesively together, but Earthrod is almost more on, it's much more we're friends first and bandmates second.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can hear the levity in those out in that music, man. Like, it's definitely cohesive. You can tell that you guys are like, just like have a great relationship. You know what I mean? It shows in everything you do. It's like, it's fun. It's fun to listen to. I've listened to tons of bands that hire based on musician skill or availability or whatever. And you can tell they're like a transplant bunk, you know what I mean? Especially if they have a discography, like a lengthy one, I'll use Megadeth, I guess, the first band that comes to mind with every guitarist.
Sure.
Yeah. But, you said that like you guys meet up and stuff like that before you go on tour. You guys don't all live in the same area?
No, so as of a couple of years ago, like once we put Black Tides out, I moved over to Melbourne. So myself and Daniel, the drummer, live in Melbourne. Colin and Tom live in Perth. So it's like 2 cities away, but it's probably a 4-hour flight.
4-hour flight. Jeez.
Yes. Yeah. So it'd be like 3.5 days of driving if we were to do that with nothing in between.
Yeah.
So obviously we don't really bother. But since kind of 2020, flight costs have gone up pretty astronomically. I think
all over the world, man.
Yeah, it's hard. The first show that we did back, I think it cost us $3,500 to get 2 band members to the same city where 2 other guys live. And I was like, wow, okay, that's it's doubled in price from what it used to be, and it definitely impacts our ability to be as active as we'd like to be, because it just shot through the roof overnight, essentially.
That's crazy. Like you guys physically don't get to be in each other's presence because of shit like that, but you get together when it's Earthrot time, essentially.
Yes. Yeah, essentially. Yeah. I mean, we used to do a lot more. We used to be able to fly over just to do a couple of days of, a long weekend. I could see some family. We'd do some rehearsal stuff like that. And now it's more, if we don't have something related to the album or a show or a tour, we probably just don't see each other, purely just based on the cost of those things. So,
dude, that's a testament to the fucking camaraderie you guys got going on there. Like, you definitely believe you got something special going on when you're able to go those like distances of time before you join up, and it clicks just like that again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, you might have some lifelong buds in your midst there.
We do, yeah, definitely, yeah. I think if we reached a point where we weren't playing shows anymore, we'd still be mates for sure.
Yeah, oh yeah, friends first, man. Like fucking, you know, you gotta like, that's one of the qualities and hacks of life, man. You gotta keep the good people that are good for your energy closer to you.
That's it.
Yeah, and then if you can make music and have fun along the way, like, you know, that's one of the answers of life, in my opinion, man.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. There's nothing quite like being able to tour the world playing heavy metal with your best mates in front of a bunch of people you've never met who often become lifelong friends as well.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty fucking cool. I've had some really dope experiences in interviewing bands on this platform here, and they come to Toronto, which is a huge hub, and everyone comes here. Yeah. And you get to meet them and have a drink with them and, like, you know, pal around and stuff like that. It's very rewarding. And like, I mean, you totally understand where I'm coming from, man. It's just, it's just one of the answers, you know what I'm saying?
That's it. Yeah. It's one of the answers. It's one of the things that keeps us going.
Yeah. And how expensive is it is it more expensive to fly internationally from Australia than it is in the nation? Yes.
Pretty substantially. Australia, I mean, you hear when bands fly to Australia and they're like, oh, it's 27 hours of flying or something like that. It's that to get to anywhere except like Southeast Asia and Japan, we can get to fairly cheaply. Like, we can get to Japan pretty cheap. It's only 8 to 12 hours of flying, depending on which city you're coming out of. Whereas, to get to Europe or to get to the US, which we so far haven't been able to do, is, it's good, like almost 30 hours of travel, which means... you land here and you got to recover first, and then fucking, I'm sure it's a monster ordeal. It's pricey to fly inside of Canada. It's more expensive to go from like East Coast to Toronto than it is to fly from like Toronto to the Dominican Republic. Yeah, wow, okay. Yeah, we have a little bit of that where it's cheaper to fly from like Perth to Indonesia than it is to get from Perth to Melbourne. So, which is 2 cities away, technically. It's a long way, but it's 2 cities away.
I don't understand.
Yeah, the first couple of years of Earthrot, we didn't play the rest of Australia. We played Perth, and then we'd fly up and do shows in Southeast Asia. Like, we played Japan, we played South Korea, we played Indonesia, all of this before we ever came to Melbourne, which is one of the biggest music cities in Australia, in the world.
Yeah.
Purely because we were like, well, it's $800 per person for us to get to Melbourne from Perth, return, or we could go from Perth to Tokyo for $750. I'm like, I think we're going to Japan, boys.
Yeah,
I'd rather do that. Like,
100% you would.
Yeah. And then at some point it turned around. We're like, I don't think we can kind of neglect our own country. There are ways we can make this work.
Sure.
There's a lot of killer bands that we're mates with on the East Coast, and we wanted to play with them as well. Well, we might just have to cop the loss on the first couple of like early tours on flight costs, and make it back as you get a bit bigger, and sell a bit more merch and make a bit more on the door each show. So
yeah, absolutely, man. All to the greater good, man. Yeah, sacrifices need to be made.
Yeah, they sure do.
That's another part and parcel life thing for sure, man. Yeah, your guys' music pool in Australia is, I think it's the best in the world, man. The talent that comes out of there is unbelievable.
Yeah, there's a lot of really good kind of active bands in Australia doing stuff that is like on a premium level. There's so many bands here that I can't believe aren't signed and bigger in other markets.
Sure.
And it's probably purely just to the availability of flights and touring out of Australia. Like, it's really, really challenging to land yourself a decent tour as like an Aussie heavy band, purely because of the costs. People look at it and they're like, we need someone to play opening second spot on a big European tour.
Right.
It's a lot more manageable for a small band from the Netherlands, Germany, Spain, or something to jump on that tour, because they don't have to pay $5,000 of flights just to get in the front door.
Yeah.
They can drive.
Yeah.
And so I guess just the mechanics of making that happen often make it pretty challenging, even though the quality of the bands that are here is really, really high.
Yeah.
I say that not just for ourselves, but obviously Freedom of Fear.
Fuck yeah.
It's European tour, so
yeah. We don't necessarily have that problem here. I mean, our hub cities are, I wouldn't say relatively close, but we have a thing where the west side of Canada will come as far as maybe Montreal, which is slightly east, but of center, but they will never ever go to the Maritime provinces way down there because there's no fan base. There's nobody really down there. I moved to Toronto from there. And
okay.
And there's nothing, like, there's just nothing going on. So when that stuff kind of happens, when they go on tour, usually the bands, if they're not necessarily signed or they're a bit like kind of under their own pocket, they sort of work their shit together to make it to the bigger cities.
Yeah, sure. Probably pretty similar here, I guess. And as well, the pure distance between the sides of Canada and the US as well is pretty similar to Australia. Like, I think, like, and like LA to New York is probably about as far as Perth to Sydney. Like, it's like just landmass size, it's pretty comparable.
Okay.
So you find you get a lot of those same challenges, and Canada as well, obviously, like going from one far side of the country to the other. It's a long way to go, and if the fan base is not there and there's not people actively going to shows, it kind of cripples it back down to big hubs.
Yep, it sure does. And there's not a lot of hubs around this way. In Western Canada, the Western Canada bands typically stay around that circuit unless they have the big budget or whatever. It's pretty secular, like it's all like Toronto people play in Toronto. Sometimes they go to Montreal, which is the next city over, and it's a back and forth kind of thing. They're trying to just hang out in those little pockets. And like, there's not really much of like a musical style difference now that I'm thinking about it between bands that are, say, like from the east side as opposed to like the west side. Everyone kind of just pools their own influences. They are fans of the music, I guess, and that's sort of how it works. Like, I can't. Okay, here's a question: when you can you listen to a band and be like, okay, they're from the East Coast? Is that something that you guys can pick up?
Absolutely not.
Absolutely. No. Okay.
There's definitely not. There's brief periods of time where certain cities will develop something that kind of identifies them. Like, there was a short period of time where Adelaide, of all places in Australia, all the drummers there were playing kind of higher tuned snare drums. I don't know why it happened. I don't know if there was one guy that was playing, like, had a little snare drum and it was a bit like poppy and snappy.
Ding, ding, ding,
and
ding,
to
ding.
me, it kind of sounded like a tin of beans.
Yeah.
It sounded like a can of baked beans. And then I noticed every band in that city had all tuned their snares kind of high. And that was the only thing I could. I was like, oh, these guys are from Adelaide, and they're playing with their snare drums tuned kind of high. But stylistically, there was nothing. So I don't know if they were just all getting drum lessons off the same guy growing up. Maybe there was like a big South Australian band playing in that city a lot, and everyone saw them, and that was just became their idea of, this is what a good live band sounds like. And I like that the snare is high tuned and it cracks and it comes through and it pops through in the mix. You can always hear it. But yeah, I definitely noticed that. I was like, oh, you guys are all playing a tin of beans.
Yeah, good old Adelaide and their tin of beans, man. Fucking, they know their snares.
That's it, yeah. I don't know. It was just a unique little thing that they had going on for a while. But all these bands were, there was like a thrash band, there was a black metal band that had the same thing going on. There's death metal bands that have been playing shows there for 15 years, and they were all doing it. So stylistically, totally different, but had their own little flavor of their hometown still in there. Other than that, cool. In Australia, I don't know if I'd say there's a thing that goes, bands from Sydney sound like this, bands from Brisbane sound like that. Like, just doesn't really happen. Over
here, usually Toronto's got the big melting pot, and there's a lot of different, there's a lot of different sounding bands. Obviously, it's a huge ass city. Sure. But Montreal is a bit more specific. There is like a new wave, a new resurgence of like old school black metal that's going on down there. There's a band called Spectral Wound. And fucking amazing.
Yeah, their new album's bloody fantastic.
It's in the mail. I haven't heard anything off of it yet.
I won't spoil anything then.
Yeah, don't. I hear it's dope. yeah. And then they have there's a pretty good melodic death metal thing that comes out of there too. Eternum is another band that comes to mind. But
cool.
Yeah. Can I ask the same question about New Zealand? Are there any differences that you can pick out?
There's a lot less bands that we kind of see and hear from New Zealand from Australia, which is strange because
they're
so close. But I guess like aside from like the real big guns, like Ulcerate are probably the one that you would see and hear the most of.
I fucking missed them when they came to Toronto last.
Yeah, I unfortunately missed them when they came to Melbourne the last 2 times, which is frustrating considering, you know, they play reliably here once a year, and their last 2 albums I've listened to on repeat in the car at work and stuff like that. And yeah, devastating to miss them because by all rights, they're one of the best bands on the planet right now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I don't know. I saw that Blindfolded and Led to the Woods from New Zealand just didn't get their visas approved to tour the North America with cytotoxin. So that's it's pretty unfortunate. Obviously, everyone's still kind of having challenges getting entry into the US with visas and stuff like that. I think their reasoning, apparently, on their response was that they weren't a big enough band yet, but they weren't like headlining the tour or anything. So I don't know, man. Like, what else are you supposed to do? How do you get bigger without going there and playing shows? So, yeah.
The walls of the US are strange too, man. It could be anything. Like, I have no idea. That's a weird place to be, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But yeah, I guess answering your question, like those 2 bands, not really similar at all. And then you've got bands like I don't know, like Organectomy and stuff like that. You know, they, I think they've got a bit of good stuff when it comes to like slammy death metal in New Zealand. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't say there's like a New Zealand sound right now that I could pick out and identify either.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Fair enough. I had to ask. I was curious. I get questions like that all the time about like comparisons between U.S. and Canada, but like it's just there's so many ethnicities and they come from so many different backgrounds. Like, you can never really tell. I'm like, you know what? If there's bands, I can tell based on like different types of fiddle music because I come from fiddle playing and keyboard playing, names that you probably wouldn't recognize, but like I can tell who's from what side. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much it. Like, and it's all family based. Like if there was a Kaisak or a McMaster, you can tell that's their daughter playing or something. You know what I mean? You know where they were coming from.
I guess that was like in the 90s. There was a very big thing. There were bands from East and West Coast in the US, I guess, that sounded like a certain thing, and there was, you know, like Gothenburg bands in Sweden that sounded like that, and you could really tell where bands were from based on kind of how they put the melodic elements together and, you know, how thrashy they were and stuff like that. But I think as we have more access to more music from around the world at all times, I think everyone's influences and how they create music is it's less localized now.
Oh, the internet's a magical thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I'm less influenced by the bands that I would see live on the weekend at a show in terms of like my own songwriting than I am the huge list of albums that have come out this year where I've picked a few and I've gone, this is like unbelievable, mind-blowing stuff. I've got to figure out how to do something half as cool as what they did.
Yeah. The victory lies in the challenge, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I there's just such a, like, I'm on a streak of finding like absolute gold these days. Every time I get an order in the mail, I'm just totally fucking blown away by like just the sounds that are coming out of people, like out of left field.
Yeah,
stuff that like is very like unique to other shit too. There's a band, I can't remember where the fuck they're from. It's Lucifer, but spelt with a V and a Y. And they're very occultish and rhythmic, but it's like you would sacrifice some shit to it for sure. There's another band called like I was up earlier in the morning. I got up super early and got my coffee and went for a walk in one of the parks down the way, and I had that album going with all the lush trees and like the twilight, like the daybreak was just coming out, and I was like, wow, I'm definitely going to walk into some sort of sect here for sure.
This is when music ties in with life.
Oh yeah, that's definitely happening. One of my favorite things to do with music in general is to like wake up early. Like, say I'm getting up super early before work and I'll throw on an album and I'll still be like kind of half in and out of sleep. And so when you're in that weird little state and you have like that like audible sensation going on, like your brain goes places. And I like to explore that little world, you know what I mean? It's kind of neat.
Yeah, I spend a lot of time driving for work, and so I get a lot of time to like pick and really like immerse myself in a full album, because I can often make it start to finish through most heavy metal albums, you know, at the start of the day or at the end of my day or something like that. And I found myself listening to music a bit more based on what the weather's been doing lately.
Ooh, based on weather and mood. Interesting.
Yeah. So I saw Catatonia earlier this year, and for me, they've always been it's a grey skies, clouds, very gloomy kind of weather band. Just goes hand in hand with the music they make.
Sure.
And I was thinking about that a bit more, and then it's like we had a pretty long and grey winter over here, and I'd find myself listening to things that were maybe like melodic but very, very kind of minor tuned and dark and moody and brooding during the winter.
Sure.
And then as the sun picks up, I need things with a bit more energy and a bit more fire, and I go for something, a bit more high tempo blasting, something with a bit more heavy metal upbeat.
I love it, man. That's great. I got something for every mood. It's so awesome to hear you say that. The seasons thing for sure, or specific albums that remind you of like a memory or like a chapter. You know what I mean? I can name a few albums that happened when they were potent, and I'm sure everyone really can. But like as for a season, our winters are stereotypically shitty. It's the farther north you get, like it's fucking blizzard season, like Northwest territories and everything like that. I used to work out there in the oil patch, and walking out in the middle of the woods, and for whatever reason, anytime I listen to any kind of like modern day Amorphous, there's just something about standing at the edge of a cliff with the blizzard going, and just the way that kind of their music is sort of soar. It reminds me of soaring. I'm flying for some reason, and so I attribute it to that. Except it's winter and I'm out in the middle of nowhere.
That's it. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's really interesting that heavy metal as a broader genre can do that. That you can have music that is, I don't know, like tied to something so primal as the weather and the environment and the landscape. Winterfilleth from the UK is probably another big one like that for me.
Okay.
For me, that's the gloomy, windy, like I'm outside, I'm in I'm like, I'm driving through a field kind of thing, and that's the music that really matches that environment to me.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
man, it's you sound very expansive and centered. I love it, dude. Fucking, it's really, really cool to hear that. Like, a lot of people are surface level listeners, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like, to each their own. If that floats your boat, then great. Yeah. But to be able to attribute it and make a connection with something else, whether it's tactile or, like you said, a season or a memory, like, that just makes it that much more better. And then you add the metal aspect of it on top of it too, where there's just so many places you can go with it. I've always said that it is the most diverse music out there. Period.
Yeah, definitely.
It can turn into anything.
Yeah, I think that's maybe something that I've been. Personally, that's something I really value getting out of music and listening to different subgenres of metal and different styles of heavy metal bands. But it's also something I want to put into the earthrot music.
Yeah, okay.
Is that because I feel so differently listening to different types of things, I always kind of ask myself, what does this song feel like? Like, I won't write lyrics just blindly until I have an idea of what the album feels like, or what the majority of the songs feel like they're about.
Okay.
And then kind of go from there. Whereas I know a lot of other friends, they come up with this concept and they just start writing, and whether songs are written or not, these are what the lyrics are probably going to be.
Okay.
And then kind of put them all together. Whereas I try and see if I can, feel like what the album is trying to, I don't know, like musically, what level it matches in terms of what kind of concepts we can apply to it lyrically.
Right on. Yeah. So in saying that, are you gearing any new earthrot material towards that concept?
Yeah. So we've been obviously we've had a bit of time off with a couple of injuries.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, life setbacks and the bullshit.
That's it. Yeah, it was a year we thought, we've been in a band for 10 years this year. And we thought, that's it. We're going to go play a bunch of shows. We'll get on the road again. And then Tom had an injury, and then I had an injury, and we just haven't really been able to piece together enough clear air to actually get some shows running. So we thought, right, we'll just put a pin in it. 10-year celebrations would have been nice, but life gets in the way. So we'll work on the album instead. And I think we've definitely found some moods that maybe earthrot songs haven't gone to before.
Nice.
While still keeping things kind of centered around the stuff that feels, we've got 3 albums and 2 EPs now, we have a rough idea of what Earthrot sounds like as a band.
Sure.
But without going, we're going to write 10 songs that sound like what Earthrot sounds like as a band.
Yeah.
We're going, these are the cool things we've got. And then how do we like wrap them up into the Earthrot burger wrapper?
Nom. Fuck yeah. Feed me that shit.
How do we make that something we can ingest as well?
Yeah, man. Well, like you said, you're off to the races. You got your bros with you, and you guys work well as a unit inside and outside of the band, and that gives your band the personality. And now that you have different flavors of Earthrot, like it just seems like a natural step. Like
yeah,
I'm looking forward to what you guys are doing next. Like,
yeah, me too. It's definitely been a freeing experience, kind of writing this album, and hopefully we can kind of wrap it up and like narrow it down to one album's worth instead of the kind of 30 odd songs that we've got kicking around at the moment.
Yeah, sure. I mean, yeah. Some will get on the cutting floor too. Do you find that when you? Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no. Go for it.
I was going to say, do you find when you've got like so many songs? I've asked a couple people this. That when you're trying to break it down to 10, for example, that you might squeeze one of those songs into like an interlude sense. I mean, before I knew where Cape of Storms came from with the jammy bit, and then you told me it was a banjo bit, and I was like, oh, okay, that used to be something, but you incorporated it in there anyways. But like sometimes a song, I mean, it's a sort of a segue, but bear with me. Like sometimes a song that won't make the album has a bridge section or an interlude or a melody or something in there that just it can't not be on the final cut of something. So it would be its own deal. You know what I mean? Like, do you find that's the case with you guys?
Some of us have that. I think Colin is really good at separating a riff from a demo of one song and going, that thing is just too good to not be used.
Yeah.
Or he'll pick something that I wrote and he's like, I need to take that and put that into my song that I'm working on, please.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, we can just like scrap the rest of it, take the bit you want, stick it in. But I think when we go to like putting the whole album together, would just listen through the huge list of demos and go, which ones of these do you listen to and go, this has to be on the album?
Mm-hmm. What makes your hair stand up?
And which ones don't? Yeah, because obviously this time we've had a longer stretch between album writing than we've ever had before due to, just the distance, the availability of us getting together and COVID and injuries and all sorts of things happening. This is the first time we've had like 5 years to write an album.
Yeah.
And so we're probably sitting on more close to complete demos rather than like riffs and ideas this time.
Great.
And I think we're actually bringing back a demo that was not refined enough for Black Tides, but was in the like kind of short list of 15 to 20 songs. And we've gone, you know what? It didn't make it for that, but I think it fits the vibe of the other main songs for the next album. And so we've had to go back like 7 or 8 years, find that demo file,
God damn, digging
relearn it, re-record it, and then rip 2 riffs out of it and replace them. And now it kind of goes with what Earthrot in 2024 sounds like to us.
Yeah.
So it's nice to be kind of revisiting old ideas and reworking them into, I don't know, what the band has like evolved into over that period of time.
Great. Yeah, hell yeah, man. It shows growth and maturity.
Hopefully.
It does, man. It takes a lot to be able to dig deep and figure out like what's going on, or to be able to, like I said before, pull sections out of something that might not, like out of a song that might not make the cut, man. It's knowing what's best for essentially you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what's good for the band is good for the people, right?
Yeah, that's what we hope. Yeah.
Oh, well, I mean, you got this far and you guys sound dope and fucking you're a million miles apart. You come together for the project anyways. Like, hell, man. Like, that's a winning combination right there.
Yeah, I mean, if you write music that you want to listen to, I think you'll find other people want to listen to it too. Maybe not everyone, but, there'll be... Yeah, there'll be people that have the same influences and grew up on the same stuff as us, and what we make out of those influences will hopefully be something that a lot of different people can identify with as well.
Yeah, for sure. It'll attract the right people towards your guys' energy for sure, and that's just another one of those things that, like, you guys know that you're doing it for you, and the right people, your tribe will come your way. And like, people like myself, I'll play them some Earthrot stuff. And I'm like, if you like this stuff, we could probably get along. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. I use it as a bar setting deal.
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. But no, it's really great to hear that you guys are fucking still on it. Black Tides definitely will tie me over to whenever the next drop is. It's so much fun to listen to you guys. It's like you're just I could brag, but I'm not going to go down that road. Like, you guys are just dope, and thank you for the awesome music, man.
No, I appreciate it. I mean, hopefully we'll tie up all the songwriting aspects before the end of this year is kind of our like personal goal, because we're close, and then I guess early next year we'll go and start laying everything down to get this next album done.
And
I'm saying it out there to hold myself accountable.
Hey, that's the word of the day. That's totally the word of the day. Good, man. You putting it out into the ether and it comes back to you. I'm big on shit like that, man. That is something that I go by. That is definitely a way to like work your way towards like manifestation and shit.
Yeah. Especially when it's something as easy as, you know, the songs are nearly there, but how do you find the energy to complete them? And sometimes it's because people know it's coming and people are going to want to hear this, and so do I, you know, so I should get my shit together and go and finish it.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I mean, getting your shit together and going and finish it's one thing, but like proper energy placement and like real motivate, like actual, you're motivated, don't get me wrong, but like, I mean, it's hard to work on stuff when you feel like you got to push a fucking box out the factory, you know what I mean? In the metaphorical sense, like I'm sure that like when it comes to good music, i.e. you guys, that it'll come out when it's ready, and you know, you're not going to settle for fucking I have to do it. You know what I mean?
I think when we obviously first like signed the record deal and put out the first album on Season of Mist, we were like, we've got 2 years or whatever to turn around the next album, and we could have absolutely, but the fact that we haven't like jumped down that shorter timeline, obviously kind of at first it was out of our hands, but now we're just going, no, it takes how long it takes. I think has yielded a different album to what we would have put out if, you know, COVID never happened and we didn't have to stop seeing each other and touring and stuff like that in 2020. Like the Earthrot album in 2022 that we would have put out would have been vastly different to what's going to come out on the next one now.
I believe that. And that's the way it probably should have gone. Like, I mean, it's the natural progression of things. Like, shit kind of got in the way, but it's coming, and it'll be what it will be what it will be when it comes out, because that's just the way it's supposed to go.
I think that's why there's been so many killer albums this year that's come out. I think a lot of bands have been in a similar position, and everyone's had a bit of time to work their best stuff.
Oh man, there's so much good shit. Like I have to reevaluate my filtering process to be able to like, or else like, because I collect albums, right? I buy the shit, and fucking like it's getting expensive, man. Like, it's not a fucking healthy habit. Well, it's a healthy habit, but like, goddamn, man, like.
It adds up, yeah.
When
people don't stop putting out good stuff,
I gotta have it, man. I'm a product of the '90s, dude. It's like Pogs. I just have to fucking have my shit. I'm materialistic as fuck. Fucking leave them out. And I'm a ripper too. Like, I kind of collect albums for the purpose of like them being like, I guess, master copies. I'm a person of convenience when it comes to it too. Like, my tunes, I buy the music, I rip it on my phone, I put the album on the shelf, and I go about my way listening to my music to work on the phone or something like that.
Yeah, sure. We still have access to it.
I still got access to it. However, I do make a point of like, if I wake up an extra half hour early or something like that, I plug the CD in. I'll like make a little bit of I'll put myself in the right space just to like be like, okay, look, this isn't just some thing on the shelf of plastic and whatever the fuck. Like, you know, there's a point to it. And then you're like, oh yeah, there's an insert. And then you start going, I'm like, right, this is like actually a chapter in someone's book sort of thing if you've got the discography, right? Like,
yeah, it's not just singles on random on a playlist.
Yeah, no. It means too much to me to be fucking like misrepresented that way. And so many people, we get lost in so many people, but what are you going to do? Yeah, man. You are fucking awesome to talk to, man. I've been looking forward to talking to you forever. You seem like a super duper dope person, and fucking
thanks very much,
your music's great. Like, I'm just looking forward. Yeah, thank you, dude.
Not the music, but I mean, being able to chat and I don't know, share our like, I don't know, common ground on how heavy metal in the world works with it.
Yeah, I mean, the world's a huge place, and there's all kinds of great people in there, and you know, I'm happy that like I have them. Like, it's just cool to be able to reach out to like. here's the best thing about doing this deal is that, like, I like your band. I can just fucking Instagram you because you've got one, and then you're just like, yeah, okay, we'll chat. Like, I've never had to go through any bullshit, and like you're like, you know, it's just been fucking super smooth, man. Like, and like it's been smooth with you, dude. Like, I'd love to.
Yeah, I mean, I've always loved doing the interviews. Like, obviously, we haven't. When you said it, I was like, what am I even going to fucking talk about? We haven't done anything all year. Like, it's been pretty quiet. We've just been sitting here writing. What am I even going to say? But it's just about having a conversation, I guess, and talking about what's good.
That's just it. I mean, you know, everyone can ask about when's the single, when's the tour, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I'll have to tell them.
Yeah, well,
it's coming. I'm working on it.
Yeah, well, we'll tell them when it gets released on a YouTube. But I'm more interested about like again, like your life, fucking what's the dynamics of the band, and just like what makes you click. And you know, we got to talking about albums based on mood and shit. Like no one fucking talks about shit like that. Like let's talk about that. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But I think that is all I have for you, man. I'm just
awesome.
It's a pleasure.
I could talk about heavy metal all day. So thanks very much for taking the time. And
yeah, man, for sure. I'd love to have you on again. Like maybe sooner. Like maybe when there's more news or there's about to be a drop or something. Like I'll keep my ear out there. I'll be in touch and fucking we'll have another. Another chat.
I'll hit you up when I reckon I have something, you know, more. I don't know, more concrete to talk about with the album or something like that. Or if, you know, we book some shows and things start changing and moving along, we can have another chat, see what the change in weather in our various countries has got us listening to.
Yeah. Fuck
I got summer's just starting to move in Australia now. So.
Oh, I suppose.
Yeah. We're just starting to actually see some sunshine for once, you know, every couple of days in Melbourne. So coming out of winter.
Is it fucking really like on the perpetual darkness kind of thing down there?
It's not like perpetual darkness. It's just perpetual gloominess. It's always kind of grey during, I'd say, half the year in Melbourne, and then once summer comes out, we get a little bit of sunshine. You get that good like kind of 2-month stretch of everything's different.
Oh yeah,
won't be inside the house, and we'll be listening to different stuff and writing more and going to see more bands and
cool, getting out and fucking enjoying that summer weather. I was almost like, wait, winter, fucking. It's just starting to change right now. The brown leaves are on the ground. Toronto winters are bullshit.
Yeah,
it's gray concrete, cigarette butts and frozen dog shit everywhere.
Oh god.
Yeah, fuck that. But
it's depressing. We'll find some good depressing albums for you.
Hell yeah. You know what? That's funny. I'll put a list together too. We can compare gloomy ass music.
That's it.
All right, brother. Thanks again.
Heaps, man.
Yeah, you betcha. I'll talk to you soon, all right?
Nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Bye.